We're on. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. We are doing a God Power tier list. We've got the same group as before that we did with the Relic video. So a couple things on the Relic video. We've heard the feedback that the audio was way too low. Hopefully that's been fixed on all my videos. And then we do have all the God Powers verified here and got them in the right order ahead of time so that we don't get confused throughout the video. So hopefully the quality is a bit better. The bad news is, once again, we do not have an Atlantean player. We do have an Atlantean player planning on joining the next Relic tier list, but we don't have them tonight. So we are going to look to do an updated Relic tier list with a couple patches coming out, and we'll get an Atlantean player there, and then we'll do the same for these just when he's available. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through age by age. We've got age 1 through 4 here. We've got two duplicates that I can't remove for some reason, but they're there. And we've got me, Jay, and Jake. And we're going to basically let each civ designate rank theirs. We can argue about it. And then Atlantean will just have to agree on, God power effect. You feel that even if you're not playing the Atlantean. So I feel like we can rank them. Let's have Jay and Jake. How about you introduce yourselves again if anyone hasn't seen these videos before, and maybe give a highlight of what you're looking forward to ranking.
Definitely. My name's Jay, guys. It's great to be back with you for another video. I appreciate the love and support on the last one that we put out together. So this one's just going to be equally as fun. I primarily play Greek nations or pantheons, primarily Hades, and it's a lot of fun. This is a great game, and I hope that you guys enjoy the content that we're putting out.
Yeah, and I'm Jacob, and I'm the Egyptian player, and I'm really excited to get on into this. Let's do it.
Yeah, and Jacob just exited his first tournament game. Free-for-all tournament that's going on this weekend did qualify for the next round. It was close. It was a free-for-all with 12. He placed 6th, and top 6 continue to advance, so we'll see how that goes later on. All right, so we're 2 minutes in. Let's just jump right into the tier list. So starting with the Greeks, Jay, I guess I'll let you go. I have strong opinions, but I want to hear what you say.
Yeah, so the first and definitely the best, in my opinion, Bolt.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing.
Where are we going?
God power. This is going S tier.
Yeah, I agree.
And we rank these god powers by age compared to all the other god powers in Age 1. Bolt is like the creme de la creme. It's fantastic for killing titans. It can take out an early hero or early myth unit in your level or Age 2 skirmishes. You get immense value, immense recast value, and it's hands down the best Greek power.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah, and for all of these, like Jay said, that's a good point. We're comparing their strength relative to their same age, basically. So we'll put everything in the same tier list, but we're not comparing Bolt to Lightning Storm or Plenty Vault. We're comparing it just to the age. What about Lur, Jay? What do you think?
So I think a lot of people undervalue Lur. Poseidon was the first Pantheon I've ever played, and I'd love to get Lur early on with him. Lur is nice. You get the free granary assets, so you get a lot of hunt to draw to you. I think it's relatively good. I put it like B, in my opinion. It's definitely better than, some of the other ones that will go down later into this tier list on Age 1, but I think B is a good place to put this one.
Yeah, I agree with B. That's where I'd put it. To me, this one, the best comparison is Great Hunt. And I think the big difference is with Lure, you're getting additional safe food. With Great Hunt, you're getting additional safe food and you're getting it faster because it's Hunt exclusively. So I think, and you have the Odin buff, of course, with Great Hunt. So I do think Great Hunt definitely has to slot above this. I think B tier makes sense. What about Sentinels?
Nice.
I was gonna.
All right.
Oh, wait, Jake, you want to argue that one?
Yeah, I can argue that. I said move Lure down to C tier, man. I mean, it gives you a little more meat, but early in the game, like it's not like Great Hunt. It's kind of you're gonna go through it either way.
I do think you're saving 50 wood right away because you don't have to build a granary. You are saving gathering time because your villagers won't have to walk as far, and you also never have to migrate them to an entirely different location, so you are getting a bit faster in that sense. And I also feel like food is the bottleneck in the early game, so for an Age 1 god power, I'm mostly interested in a food buff.
Right,
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'll take that and B.
Okay. Sentinels?
Sentinels. Okay, I very much love the Sentinel God power. I like to use it aggressively if it's possible when you get it down in Age 3 on recasts on your castles in the middle of the map. I would put Sentinels as an A-list God power. They're very durable. They have really good points, and they do pack a punch against early raids and protect you from early aggression with raids.
disagree.
Disagree as well. Go get him, Jake.
Oh man!
Yeah,
All right.
First off, the biggest problem with Sentinels is you don't get to choose where you position them around your tower. So if you try to recast it a second time, they're going to be stacked right on top of each other, making them all that easier to kill too. And sure, it might help a little poke, but you're still just within tower range, so it's not going to help you once you move past that first gold mine.
Yeah, for me, I personally value this god power at 150 wood and 100 gold because that's what it takes to upgrade your towers, and that's basically what you're getting out of this. And to me, that's pretty much the value that you're getting. It has decent recastability, but later into the game on multiple TCs and fortresses, I don't think these are doing enough damage to really make it too strong. I also don't think it's crap, though. I just think A is too high. I was going to slot this into B tier.
I think B tier would be fine to put it into. I do think that in multiplayer games, especially ones we've played.
Yeah,
recently,
you have supported my TC a few times with this. It is instant
Yeah.
response time. That's true.
It's instant response to where you can, enact like without having your army there to be able to help protect against a raid or like a strong push. So there is good value. I think B's fine. We don't have to put it in A, but I don't want to undervalue. There is some good opportunities with that one.
Yeah, let's leave it in B, and we'll see at the end of the Age 1 God Powers if we want to readjust. Well, Jake, we're over to you now when it comes to the Egyptian God Powers. We're starting with Rain. What do you think?
Well, if we talk about food being good as a resource, Rain's going to be better than Lure, in my opinion. You gain the farms out. Everyone builds farms at some point in the game. You're going to just stack that. I'd say put this high B tier.
I'm going to go the opposite direction. I think this is F tier currently. And I've got two reasons why.
Wow.
This is the only one you can't get value out of right away because you don't have farms. It's the only one out of this list. All the others you get value before people age up with these god powers. Secondly, it helps everyone, right? They changed prosperity to only buff up ISIS villagers, but Ra still helps everyone. So not only can you not use it till later, but unless you're rushing out farms, you're also helping your opponent whenever you cast this. I think it's crap. Jay, I'm curious where you think it sits.
So I'm in between you two. I see the value. I definitely think there is value. I'm not as pessimistic on it as you are, but you bring up a very good point that all these other god powers that we've already looked at and will look at have immediate impact right off the bat. They give you an advantage. They help you get something going right away.
Big in the first fight, big in the first base siege,
skirmish,
big for early game
start
economy.
your economy. Yeah.
So
I won't say it's F tier though. I mean, I would have to say low C maybe, maybe high D, but I couldn't say it's F.
I'm going to need Jake to convince me it's not D tier. Go ahead, Jake.
Let me push back. All right, let me push back with this. You're forgetting Rain has a secondary effect. People can't cast other god powers while it's going.
Is that true?
You know what?
Wow,
that is
hang on.
absolutely true. How did we forget that? Yes, that is true.
So you don't want to use it early anyways. You want to save it for that mid game where you want to build your economy. You're a little timid.
Are you sure
Actually,
it prevents other god power
he's right.
cast?
Yeah. No,
Does it
he's
say
right.
that in the
I looked it
wiki?
up. It says no other god powers can be invoked by any other player while Rain is in effect. It is true. That might push it to C tier at least.
Yeah. Here's the crazy case. I'm trying to think of if, Jacob, with your strategy of running Eclipse Ancestors and just dropping that on their base, if you could squeeze Rain in between and prevent the other cast, that would actually be insanely high value.
Wow. That is actually pretty nasty.
It's pretty niche. I'm going to say it's pretty niche. I mean, it's not a ceasefire, right? But that I didn't know that. That's a good tip that we wouldn't have known if we didn't have an Egyptian player on. So please let us know if we get any of the Atlantean god powers wrong. We've all played Atlanteans before, but we're not maining them. So with the AOM Retold changes, we might get something wrong. Jay, you're looking at the wiki too, right, Jay, as we go through this, just to check for
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yep. I'm cross-referencing it as well.
Sweet. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, we'll keep that in C tier. That seems pretty reasonable. Moving on, next we've got Vision for Set.
Mm-hmm.
And this, kind of just you pick one large section of the map and suddenly you can see. I think you could use it for scouting, which is useful, or maybe you want to hit the enemy with, a god power and you just need to see where their base is. Personally, I think it's pretty low on the list. I kind of go D.
D tier, wow, okay. I need to check on this, and you've been playing Isis and Ra, so you haven't been playing a lot of Set, but I think the recastability on this is pretty insane right now. I think, isn't there a unique tech? I don't know if there's anything in the wiki, Jay, but I think there's a unique tech with Vision Yeah, here you go. Set makes additional charges of the vision Gaia power be cast with no favor cost and be granted more quickly. So you actually can use this very consistently throughout the game, which is why I think it ranks higher than that. I like the name too, Clairvoyance, because this is basically the old Clairvoyant Summoner spell in League. Is basically throughout the entire game, you just get to reveal part of the map and see what your opponent's doing. I'm definitely going higher. Jay, where do you think this sits?
Honestly, I think that there is value, but I'm not sold on it being extremely valuable as a whole. I think D is a good place to put it, genuinely speaking. I think that it's nice to get that information early, but with the access to Pegasus or with scouts or priests, you're getting a lot of ability to get information on the map early on, especially with the line of sight to some of these early units. So I don't value this one personally as highly. Maybe some high elo players do though.
I'd say think of it this way: you use it instantly. Maybe you see a relic. Maybe you see two groups of goats. So you're getting a few more goats, but you're still not going to be getting more meat than just from Great Hunt or Lure.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean,
if you don't have that upgrade done, 40 favor cost to reuse for that pocket of information seems like a steep price. That's a high level.
Yeah, you wouldn't reuse it though unless you had this, right? You wouldn't use your favor on this. So this is pretty expensive. I think that's kind of hurting it for me. This is one of the most expensive unique techs out there. 200 gold, 15 favor. But it is a 2-minute cooldown Clairvoyance on the map. I'll leave it there because I'm in the minority here. You guys have overruled me. I want my set mains to get in the comments and talk about. I would put this up in B tier, potentially in A tier.
Wow. Oh no.
And I think it's the same difference we have like with the Pegasus Scout. We kind of went back and forth. I value the Pegasus Scout very highly, whereas you guys don't as much. But I think for me, like information gathering is a pretty key part of this, even if it's not combat value.
Let's revisit this at the end of the first God Power.
I would like to point out when you use it, the enemy knows you use it.
Yeah, they do see where.
So if they see, they know where I'm getting gold from, they're going to have time to respond to that too.
That's true. All right, well, Prosperity, I think this one's going to be pretty easy. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's solid S tier right there. Gold, most valuable resource, especially on Egyptian. You're just going to plop that down, all your villagers on a gold mine, and you're going to be rolling in at like 1,000 gold in no time.
Yeah.
Jake, will you put that above the bolt?
I would, personally.
I'm putting it above the bolt. I think, the bolt you're getting in a classical age fight, right? Probably 200 units of value from it from killing a Minotaur or a Cyclops or, whatever the myth unit is that's out on the map. Where you're getting way more than that from Prosperity in value.
Agreed.
And gold is something that like you sometimes need in a pinch very quickly. So I think it's the best one in the game.
And the fact that they did change it from the first age of Mythology to now in Retold, where it's only affecting you, is also a huge buff.
Big difference. It's kind of curious that they didn't do that for Ra, but I guess rain thematically it does make some more sense, right? Like if it's raining over the map, everyone gets the buff.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving into the Norse ones, I'm actually going to go Great Hunt here. Recently nerfed, but I'm actually going Great Hunt. It's bottom of S for me, because you're basically getting 800 food at your base and an increased gather rate on it. And just from playing all of the different Norse civs, there's no comparison between the amount of army you can get out early with Odin versus the other civs. You just get way more out with the 10% gather boost, and you don't have to reallocate your villagers. I actually think it's probably worse than Bolt, because I think Bolt probably has more impact in that fight than having a couple more units, but I do think it's S tier.
I agree with your rationale, but now I'm starting to think that we're overvaluing S tier. Like S tier should be like the best of the bunch.
I think, and to me, these are. It's tough because I also want to put the next one in S tier.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't think we can value these.
We can hold it in A tier for now. I agree with your saying, especially since I'm planning on going S next, and I do think this is better than Great Hunt. And to me, this is better than Bolt.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. Gold is better than food, and I know you're good with Great Hunt. You can kite the deers into the granaries to get the food faster, and for Norse, you're able to just really push out with that and build units like instantly. But gold is just more of a stable currency. Every unit cost it essentially.
And the recastability on this is insane. Most games I'm casting this twice when I'm playing Thor. Sometimes use your favor for something else for myth units, but most games I'm casting it twice. And if you're classical or heroic age, when you have this, you're getting a ton of gold, and it does gather quicker than regular gold mines. So you got that double effect, just kind of like Prosperity does, and kind of like how Great Hunt does, specifically
I'm
because
sold
you're
on
Odin.
that being better than Bolt. I think that is definitely an S-class hero god power. It's amazing.
And in
Okay.
every game I've played, raiding parties have always gone for the gold gatherer. So if that gold mine's too far away, you could get shut out. But being able to just plop it right next to your base and safety, I think is just huge.
It's really good in a pinch, and I try and keep at least 60 favor throughout the game in case my gold does get overwhelmed. Then I have this backup like 3,000 to 4,000 gold that I gather very fast. It's great. Spy is another one. I think it's actually quite good. I know I'm putting the Norse god powers way up there. I think Spy probably slots into B tier. It's kind of tough where to put it in B tier, just because when I've been playing low key, some games I get insane value out of this, and some games I get none because they plop that villager I spied onto a farm, onto the TC, and I'm just not getting anything out of that.
I'm sorry, did you say tier or D tier?
B tier. I do think the like some games this is incredibly valuable. The amount of 5 to 10 villager kills I get because I see where they've extended too far on the map is incredible. And if that happened every game, I'd put this S tier, but it doesn't. Some games that villager stays home and you don't really get much information outside of maybe what army they're making.
So my thought process on this one is I think that this is a very weak god power when it comes to your skill level. If you know that Spy is cast and you have that notification, you just keep it at the town center like you just said. It's very easy to counterplay it and deny information. I don't think it should be in B. I think it should be a C tier, honestly, just because there's a lot of counterplay to Spy.
What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I think it's kind of too hard to get off for utility. I mean, even if you want to use it on the enemy scout at the beginning, like maybe you bump into them and then early on you can get vision. But looking at the Egyptian set, vision god power, I feel like that might give you more utility than Spy personally.
Well, sometimes you get a lot with Spy because you get not only where the villagers are going, but you can see the units that are coming out if their armies near those villagers that are on the gold or the hunt or whatever. If their armies nearby, you can see that. I wouldn't use it on the scout. I try and use it on villagers when I'm raiding, and even if they know you've used it, usually there's about 10 villagers in the area. They don't know which one you used it on, and it's pretty hard to track those and change your build order to keep those by the TC. And they get out there from experience. This has given me a free wipe of a group of villagers most games at least once. To me also, I don't think I can put it in the same tier as Rain. If it's going down, Rain's going down to D.
Yeah, I don't think Rain should be in D. C seems like a fair place.
I'll trust
this could be a compromise
on this one.
Okay,
yeah, we can compromise there.
All right, I wish we had Mike on for this one, but Deconstruction, I'm actually putting in the A tier. And I'm putting it above Great Hunt because of two reasons. One, this can be used effectively to deny an age up, and it has happened to me. But if they get a deconstruction on your temple before you click to age up, you have to rebuild a temple before you can age, and that can cause 30 to 40 seconds of a delay in your age up. So that's really powerful. And none of these other god powers can do that. The other thing is, in the heroic age, that first fortress, that's, it's a big deal to get that first fortress up, and just denying it for the fight, it does restore the resources to the opponent, so they get their resources back, but causing downtime to rebuild that fortress or the temple, it slows them down. I think it's quite powerful, but I just don't think it's as good as our top tier.
I'm with you, but I don't think it should be top of A. I think it should be top of B. I'd rather have Great Hunt than Deconstruction, but that being said, Deconstruction has a lot of value. I completely agree with you. And I'm not sure if I can put it into the A and S tier categories either, but I think a better place would be top of B.
Now that I think about it, how many single units do you know that could take down a fortress by themselves?
Very few. I mean, very few.
Saying,
A battering ram can't for the Norse. A battering ram does end up losing that, even with the Pierce armor it has.
We're kind of comparing this to Bolt. Like, would you rather eliminate one building or one unit? And I'm going to be honest, I feel like that one building is going to be more useful. Like, Bolt might save you if they're pushing in early, but I think I'd actually rather take Deconstruct.
To me,
You know what? I was gonna have this conversation actually at the end of the thing, but I've since been convinced that Bolt might need to be top of A and not S. I think it's immense value. Don't get me wrong, throughout the whole game. But if we're talking putting it between S and A, I think we need to move Bolt down a tier
I think
to
we
balance
I
out the
think we
god
moved
powers.
Bolt down.
Yeah,
the thing to me about Bolt is just the insane quickness of value that you get out of it. Deconstruction is technically zero resource value, right? Because it returns the resource to your opponent. If anything, you're just delaying a building firing or potentially producing units or upgrade or aging up. Whereas Bolt, you're immediately getting 200 resources plus 15 favor value at the start of the first classical age fight. I think that's unmatched. That's a huge swing. You take out the Minotaur from that fight, and it's completely different after. Or you take out Atlanta. If you're playing Poseidon, you take out Atlanta in that fight, and suddenly that fight is entirely different. I don't know that it's the same if a tower or a fortress gets deconstructed. I don't think it completely changes the outcome like it does with that unit for those first couple of fights.
you're right, but also keep in mind if you're in Age 2 right off the start of Age 2 and you're about to push in with a few units to get your first raid in or whatnot, deconstructing on their first production building, whether it's a barracks, archery range, stable, whatever it is, that also puts you back and more susceptible to raids because you won't be able to pump out the units too. So there is a lot of value in the time equity. I know it doesn't give you the resource equity like Bolt does, but time is the most important thing in an RTS game, and it definitely can have an impact.
Let me paint this picture. You know, you're fighting to reclaim a gold mine, and the enemy's got 10 villagers there in a stronghold. All the villagers hide in the stronghold. You immediately remove that, and now they're open to be picked off too.
Yeah. You guys are kind of convincing me, I guess, with this. I would be more apt to put deconstruction in S tier than I think I would be to remove Bolt. And then we kind of actually have one S tier per civ, which means the game is likely balanced as well. I'm willing to put it above Great Hunt. I still think Bolt is better value for that first fight, and that first fight makes such a big difference. But I think you'd be more creative with this. Bolt's pretty straightforward. So that's where I think I'm going to land on it. Last pitches.
First off, you got to push down.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I flipped it.
I think we put both in A tier.
Both in A tier.
Yeah.
Or you know what? If you want deconstruction, top of A at least. And if you want to keep Bolt in S, I'm happy with that.
I'm keeping Bolt in S. I think Bolt is OP. All right, let's move on. We spent a lot of time on that one, so let's go Shockwave.
It was good. I think that was good to put the differentiation between getting the first unit out or the first building out. There's a lot of value in that conversation.
That is a good point with those late game Greek heroes. Being able to remove one of those is going to be huge if you got myth unit army.
Yeah, absolutely. Last two here. So we've got Shockwave. To me, Shockwave's pretty good. I actually think this does belong in A tier. It's kind of like Bolt, where that first classical age fight, you just get a big benefit. And I've seen this in some of the games that I've cast. I've seen this used really well to either save villagers so they have time to get away and then the army is there to protect, or just to bolt or to shockwave the archer backline into the front line in order to kill them, which has been pretty creative. So I think it's actually got a lot of good uses, and it seems like the recastability is pretty good. When I play versus Atlanteans, they're using this a couple times per game.
I'm pretty indifferent on this one personally. I do think that it has good value, but I'm not necessarily sure it's A tier. I think B would be a good place for it at the top of it, but I could be convinced either way.
I'm gonna say keep that one in A tier. I've definitely seen utility. Like you said, hitting the archer backline can really change the outcome of the first fight. I think it's pretty solid. It's a safe offensive and defensive ability.
All right, last one here, Gaia's Forest. I'm super conflicted on this. Do you guys have strong opinions? I don't know where to put this one.
Gaia Forest, I think it's a fun one. You paint the map with some trees, make it look nice and pretty. But I don't know, maybe like C tier. I mean, wood is the easiest. It's the easiest resource early game in my opinion, depending on the map, obviously. But to like secure it and not be in need for in Age 1, Age 2 obviously is a completely different story. It's nice to be able to put it down like the gold mine, but the gold mine is much more valuable than the actual trees are.
And it's only 5%, right? 5%. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. Yeah. What is this percent increase? I mean, it's nice. I could see this being valuable for a non-Atlantean civ even more, because you have to go out and build a station to drop off your resources, but you don't as an Atlantean. So casting this by the TC doesn't make a difference there. I've usually seen people cast it around their towers, which I think is cute, to defend the towers, but I kind of agree. The faster rate is nice, but I don't think it's top of the list. But there are certain situations where you can wall off an entire choke point with this that I do see some quite strong value there. I just don't know how often those situations really pop up.
Yes,
I put this in D or C.
I feel like people are going to be mad at us, but I also agree. Someone who plays Atlantean is going to be fuming in the comments on this, but I kind of agree. I don't think it's that good.
I mean, how often are you going to be able to close off an entire choke point with just the tree line? I feel like that's kind of a rare.
Not often.
That's the only benefit this really gives.
There are some maps where you can definitely wall off one, like Megalopolis and Giza. Giza is one where you kind of have that circular tree line around your base, and you can usually connect two of them. There are situations. I think I'm putting it C. I think probably above rain still. Like, you do get the faster gather rate right away into the game to help your age 1 age up, and Atlanteans are very wood intensive. They require a lot of wood to get infrastructure up, so I think it's better than rain, but I kind of think C tier.
Oh man,
you guys hate this one, right? I'm just catering to the Atlanteans who are gonna shit all over us because we don't have Michael. That's right. We'll put it there. You guys can get mad. Let's move on to second age, and let's go ahead.
To be fair, though, I am very happy that we gave 2 A tiers to the Atlanteans. They should be happy with that. Deconstruction and Shockwave is up there.
I think they're both really good. I mean, it's kind of interesting how pretty much the only combat power ones are the Atlantean ones, outside of Bolt, right? The rest don't have any sort of combat power, but this is combat power, and this definitely has a lot of combat power. So it's kind of interesting.
Could you use Forest to trap an enemy's archer backline?
That is an interesting idea. I've never seen that, but we should try it. All right, we'll start out hot. Jay, what do you think of Pestilence?
You see, I have a love-hate relationship with Pestilence. I think there's immense value, and I think it's also the worst god power, also out of this tier list for Age 2 Greek powers. I'm going to put it in C tier. I think that it's really nice to have 45 seconds where you block out unit creation. You get the ability to make a strong raid or a strong push into Age 2 if you have the army mass to do it. But I think that the other god powers we're just about to go into right after have much more immense value than Pestilence. That might be controversial. It might be, because I know a lot of people like this god power. But me as a player, when I have the ability to use it, I don't think it extracts as much value as a Ceasefire Restoration would.
I don't know, Jake, what do you think? I also just realized that I'm missing... we got Age 3 Trader. Do I have it? I do have it. Never mind.
We have it.
I'm arguing for D tier on this one. This is very different now, also, from the original, if anyone played the original. In the original, what this would do is just prevent military production from the enemy. Now it's pretty different. It slows military production, right? But it also stops buildings from being able to shoot for 45 seconds. Oh, and it does also still completely production. So it's really, to me, I think it's mostly about the archer, the tower arrows, but the production can be quite effective, I guess. For 45 seconds, it is quite long. Now that I think about it, it's not the strongest effect, but it is quite long.
That's the only reason I put it in C, was because the 45-second duration. I want to put it in D, but the fact that you stop somebody from producing units in a certain area for 45 seconds, when typically you're only going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 production units on that first early aggressive raid or push, you will get value because of the time. But in reality, there's ways to circumvent that.
It kind of just seems like a good snowball god power. Like, if you're winning, you win the fight. You have this going that they're not going to be able to recover, but you have to be good enough to actually, tip the scales in your favor and be winning in the first place.
Okay.
Maybe it is D2, actually.
It might be. We can revisit it also. I just don't see many down here that I would rather take Pestilence over. This next one I think is kind of a controversial god power at this point because of how reduced the duration is, and I wanted to check what the exact one is now. That is not right. It's definitely not 60 seconds in the current point of the game. It says 60 seconds here, but
it is. I think it is 60 seconds.
No, it's definitely not. It's a lot shorter than that. Let me get in here and get the actual tooltip. I picked the one Greek that doesn't have it. It doesn't say. I feel like it's 25 or 30. I think it's a lot shorter than it used to be. I don't see inside of here where they say. This might be one thing where the wiki hasn't been updated. But this is definitely not a full minute at this point in the game. I believe it's 30 seconds, maybe 25 seconds.
I think that regardless of the time, I think it has tremendous value to be able to pause and just take a 30-second, if that's what it is, window to relook at everything. That being said, do I think it's better than a lot of these other god powers we're about to get to? Probably not, but I think it's a relatively good B tier. I will say there is really good counterplay to this. Like in one of my games recently, somebody used ceasefire because I was able to outflank them with the Titan. And even though they used ceasefire, I literally just was able to track their whole army in the same way and continue the fight, even if it was just a little further away than where we initiated, and do the same effect. So sometimes ceasefire won't save you from certain situations. So I think it's bottom of B, top of C, but there's value. There's value there.
I think I was going to go top of C with it. I think there's value, but I don't think I take it over much else, especially including restoration. So where are you putting this?
That is the one I'm going to contend for an S tier. I think restoration changes a fight. It's almost a guaranteed win when you have that god power available to be able to zap up all your units straight to 100 HP. It changes the outcome of any fight. In fact, it's going to go beyond all the... I know we're not scaling them within the different ages, but this would be like a top of S tier, in my opinion, for H2.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Let's rank just within each other, and then let's come back to the full tier list at the end, and we'll kind of pick out things that we think should be top of each.
So I'm going to completely disagree with the S tier for restoration here, and the reason I'm saying that is you already have healing options with the Greeks, because can't you just get the Temple of Healing?
Well, the thing is, it's not so much the healing, it's the insane rate of the healing that you get from this. Your entire army is basically guaranteed to not die and be on full health by the time this ends in 5 seconds. You know, it's just such an incredibly fast heal for your entire army that you can use mid-combat.
It's not about the healing, like Matt said. It's about winning a fight no matter what. If you have restoration up, and it's within a 10 to 20% range of like the massive units you have on both sides, you are guaranteed to win the fight.
Yeah, it's basically immortality for 5 seconds and then full health after.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it belongs up there. I think these are good spots for each of the Greek ones for the H2. Let's go ahead.
Put ceasefire above pestilence, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. Asgardian Bastion is super interesting. I actually think this is quite good. I'm going to put this in A tier because of the recastability. You get that unique tech, and you guys may not know about this unique tech, but I use it all the time. If you go for Oler with the Asgardian Bastion, you get the ability to recast this with minus 60% favor cost, which puts it at 40 favor per hill fort. And as the Norse, you can use that really effectively if you don't build myth units, because you're constantly generating favor from fighting, and you can constantly drop hill forts in age 2 because of that. So I think this is at least A tier. Maybe we'll push it up, but I want to get through the rest of them before I do.
I agree. I think it's a very powerful god power, and it scales very well throughout the whole game. It's not just an age 2 god power, but it's useful in age 3 and age 4 as well.
Yeah, it definitely does have that recastability.
I'm actually going to put it up there too, because it's got the early aggression, because that same tech tree, you get access to battering rams in age 2 as well. So Freyr's all-in is actually really good with this tech.
I would keep it at A until we revisit at the end, just because there might be a few god powers here we're curious about.
All right, next we've got Healing Springs. This one is so tough for me because, you know, I have such a love-hate relationship with the trolls. I've been trying to beat 3v1 Titan AI, and so far the best success I've had has actually been mass trolls, because they just knock units off of the walls and then my towers help clean them up. But I just have never been able to practically use trolls inside of the game. So there's that part of it, but we're just ranking the god power, and I actually think Healing Springs itself is really good. The heal rate's quite good. If you have a forward base, you can drop it there. If you're sieging, you could drop it. To me, this is A tier. I think the actual god power itself is really strong.
I agree.
I would agree with you under one condition: the enemy can't retake it, and then immediately it's just a negative against you. I mean, if you said you put it for your forward base, if they manage to push that forward base out, now they have it, and you're screwed yourself.
Yeah, that's fair, but
That
I
is
think as a Norse player, if you've lost your forward base, you've usually lost the game, and I think that's up to the player to make sure they're putting this in a place that they can defend it.
I will say this: I'm actually very glad that Age of Mythology and Microsoft made this capturable when you're playing against it, because it does add a really fun element to make that a focal point of where your battle becomes, because you want to capture that. If you take over the forward base where they have a healing spring, you pretty much can win the game. So it shifts the focus to a planned war, which I do like. It's a fun feature.
I think it should be up there. You guys are going to hate me for this next one, but I'm also putting Undermine above Healing Springs, but below Asgardian Bastion.
You're just biased Norse.
I think they have 3 pretty good Age 2 God Powers, and they have 1 completely crap Age 2 God Power. And just for a preview, I am putting Forest Fire in F. I think the Valkyrie is the best Age 2 myth unit in the game, but I think Forest Fire is the worst God Power, so it's pretty fitting that they're put together. I do think this belongs in F. There has been 2 kind of cool uses of this that I've seen. The obvious one is opening up a choke point that's walled off by trees. It is very slow to open up that choke point. You can't run an army in immediately after, because it does kind of seep through the trees very slowly in Retold. But the other thing is this will actually burn down buildings that are near a tree line. So if your enemy slips and they build a base near a bunch of trees, you can actually wipe out 2 or 3 buildings with that. But at a high level, I just think people will avoid that. I just don't think there's a lot of use to this. You basically just make them move to a different wood line.
Yeah, I don't think that's up here, man. I think that's like, I've seen games where people use that woods as a choke point. Or sorry, they use that woods as protection, and then the forest fire comes in. Maybe it hits a villager camp. Maybe it hits some buildings, but it opens it up. And the fact that forest fire spreads. I don't know if you've seen the max radius of it, but
it spreads for a while.
It will take out an entire oasis.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, it has uses, but is there a single other Age 2 God Power you would take Forest Fire over? I don't think there's a single one that I would give up.
I don't think there is, no. I wouldn't.
And to me, that's why it's got to be an F, right? There's nothing else that you would give
Honestly,
up.
I'd rather have Age 1 God Powers than Forest Fire.
I agree. Exactly. It has uses, but yeah, it's just not that strong.
I'm sorry, but I feel like you kind of went a little fast here, but you put Healing Springs in A tier and what is that, Undermine also in A tier? I feel like those are not going to stay together.
You don't think so? I think Undermine, most maps you take out 2 towers with this.
Oh, Undermine is great. I'm leaning more S tier for that and more B tier for Healing Springs.
I'm okay moving it to B tier. It's just so tough to rank this one because you just really do not want to go trolls. And unless you're playing Thor, you don't want to go down this tech tree. Hall of Thanes is great, but that's all you're really getting down this tech tree unless you're Thor and then you have an extra armory upgrade. But yeah, Foresti is just so crap that for me, it's really hard to rank this because I think the God Power is really good. I just think the rest of the tree, when you get it, is terrible.
And I know we're ranking the God Powers themselves, but this is important stuff to take into consideration because that's how your game is going to go, because you chose this God Power and this path. So I do think that B probably actually fits better because Earthquake is far better than
Undermine,
the Healing.
Yeah.
Undermine, sorry. Yeah, Undermine. But I think both of them are great, though.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to keep it there. I've got to run to the bathroom really quick. Jake, do you want to start talking through where are you going to put Serpents?
Yeah, I don't really go Serpents too often. I mean...
You want to start with Eclipse?
Let's go ahead and put Serpents in B tier. I think you can use it to kind of just close off an area. You can use it for
what?
They pump out a little bit of damage. I mean, it can help secure an area.
Okay, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy. Serpents are literally just annoying and cause a little bit of idle time. Worst case, they're not gonna effectively change the course of a fight, in my opinion. If I was to look at it objectively, I personally think Serpent should be C tier or less. I don't think it's an extremely valuable God Power compared to some of the ones that you do have in the Egyptian culture, like Eclipse. When you talk about Eclipse, I'm going to agree with you completely, I'm sure. We both know where that's going to go. But Serpents, I think you're overselling here.
All right, I might pull Serpents down to C. I might be overselling them a little bit.
it's like the monkey conversation we had, and I know Matt and you are very sold on monkeys and lions, but that little bit of idle time is not as necessarily powerful as something like Eclipse will, because I mean, it just the value's not there. I think you have to push it down.
The thing is, you can use it to. This is another one of those that you can use it for offense or defense. Like if they're coming in for your villagers, you could plop them down and kind of save them a little bit. Or if you see an enemy mining camp, you can plop it down and then pull them off of it. Like,
I just got back. I dropped this in A tier, but where are you guys debating on this?
We're on serpents, and I just feel like
I said serpents being C.
I think it helps with positioning. Like you can take over or push out a gold mine early.
So there's something about serpents that I got to bring up, because I don't think the three of us have experienced this much, but on water maps, these serpents are S tier, and they did just kind of fix it. A lot of the S tier was because of bugs where the dock couldn't target the sea serpents, but even so, these things just shut down a fishing economy immediately. So I do think on water maps this is really good, but I kind of agree on land maps it's not that impactful.
What?
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah. I'm okay with B tier for it. I don't think it's like game changing.
Are they just on the counter?
Okay. Oh, let's move to Eclipse then.
Yeah, I think someone just walked into his room there, but I'm going to go ahead and put Eclipse in A tier. I think it is an A tier god power. Not only is the strength on it really insane if you look at the actual numbers for the buff that it gives you, where I scrolled by, didn't I? But the duration is also insane. Okay, this is also wrong for the duration. Oh, no, it's right. It is 80, yeah.
The duration is twice as long. The duration's twice as long as Ceasefire, and that's why Ceasefire is not higher up on the list, because it can't really counter some of these abilities like Ancestors and Eclipse. You're still going to get half of the use out.
Yeah, and the reason I pull it up is because it does more than you think. 20% damage, 20% all resistance for myth units, and an extra 50% boost to monument favor generation during Eclipse, which lasts 80 seconds. Which, if we were looking, Jake, at your free-for-all, you were getting 36 favor a minute with all the monuments, right?
Yeah, 36.
So you get an extra 20-something just from casting this if you have your monuments up, which is pretty significant. That's another myth unit you're getting out. I think it's really good, and the duration is crazy long.
I'm arguing this is S tier. I'm saying this again. Like Eclipse is the scariest shit.
Oh, okay. I thought you were arguing it down. I'm down to move it up personally.
No, Eclipse is one of my favorite god powers outside of what I like to play. Like that shit's bad shit crazy.
I don't think it's better than Restoration. Or wait, no, that's Age 1. This is our first Age 2. So yeah, I agree with it being there.
The Restoration's Age 2 too. But,
also,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
It also has that god power combo you can use with Ancestors to make them even stronger, or if you're going too.
And I think it's if Eclipse was given to Greeks, Norse, or Atlanteans, I don't think it'd be as good. I think the fact that Egyptians cater to such an economic friendly way of generating favor just by building the monuments and being done, that this is incredibly good with the Egyptian pantheon specifically.
Agreed. Yeah. Completely.
We should try some team game shenanigans with this though. I think that'd be pretty funny if we do Greek. It's tough to do Norse because I don't get enough favor, but 2 Greeks or 2 Egyptians with Eclipse, that could be pretty crazy.
Could you imagine those Minotaurs or Cyclops running shit
down? Yeah. All right, next one. I know you don't play it much, but what do you think of Shifting Sands, Jake?
You know, I like using it just to get a big scarabs behind the back lines, but it's really not that good. I just kind of put C tier.
Yeah.
I mean, just compared to some of the other ones, like it does have some specific utility, but it's kind of situational, and it's not going to really save you.
Yeah, I'm curious if the recast ability is good. Go ahead, Jay.
I cannot in good conscience think that Serpents is better than Shifting Sands.
Well, Shifting Sands, this has changed. I know you haven't played Egyptians, but it only works on your units now. You can't port away the enemy's army. And the recast isn't that good. I mean, 50 isn't a ton, but like, do you really want to be using 50 favor on shifting units, across the map? I don't know. And I think the max amount of units, does it move everything no matter what on your team?
It's 15 units is what Jacob was telling us.
Yeah, 15 units.
It is pretty generous on how many units it takes with you. And I mean, you could use it to airdrop siege in their base. You could use it on your villagers if maybe you want to move them from one gold mine to one across the map. But again, you're gonna need vision of where you're using it.
Yeah, I think I'd take it over Pestilence, but that's about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. I mean, we have to revisit these serpents before we're done with.
Okay, we could revisit the serpents. I want to pull up the wiki for these next couple just to get the numbers, because I'm curious for for Valor, how many do we get out of this? If it gives you the actual number of units that we get, I feel like I usually see only 2 units convert when I watch this get cast. Valor.
Pretty sure it's 1 unit, but it costs 2 favor.
It's only 1 unit. Okay, so I've seen them using it. Okay, so it ramps up each time. That's quite a lot of units actually that you get out of this.
There's a reason the Atlanteans can pull out heroes like none other.
Yeah. Okay, and then
it's effective too.
For reference, Carnivora recast is 20 for the first, plus 5 each time. Trader 15 the first, and then plus 15 each time, so it ramps up really quickly. I just want to check in on the favor cost because I haven't played enough of them to know those. So let's start with Valor. I think it's the most clear-cut one. You're getting hero units basically for free for the first 5 or 6 because of how low the cost is, and then from there you're ramping up each time. To me, that's pretty solid. A lot of those early myth units are a big part of the army, and being able to select immediately whether you want a ranged hero, a human hero, or a cavalry hero, I think is really nice, and that recast ability is great. So I think I'm probably putting this in A tier.
I put it in A tier just for the reason that you can use it on the low health unit. So if you have a soldier that's about to go down, he suddenly springs right back up, gets his second wind,
and wow,
he's stronger than ever. So it's almost like getting an extra unit and a hero.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I disagree with you guys. I think it should be B because, and I scale it towards like the pool of healing that you got. I would rather have that be a focal point of my forward base or and be able to mass all my armies, like to be able to heal rather than have a few units become heroes. And I'm not underselling that. This is a fantastic god power. But if we're scaling it towards the Norse god power that we ranked in B, I don't think that's the right way to go about it. This has to be next to that and underneath it.
I don't know, man. The fact that you can use it so many times and you can just use it in a clutch situation to save a troop, I think it's god power of the people.
Over being able to mass heal your armies.
Well, I think restoration is better.
Yeah, right.
I'm not talking about restoration. I'm talking about the pool of healing.
Would I rather have 10 heroes or would I rather have the healing springs? I don't know. I might go for the heroes.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think I would. It's tough, though, and I feel like we need an Atlantean rep who really knows playing these. This one is especially tough for me because I have not had a single game someone took this, and for that reason, I feel like I got to put it D tier because clearly the Atlantean players don't think this is good. But it might be a troll. It might be a troll situation, right, where it's just that the myth unit is absolute trash when you go this. With let's see, we've got Prometheus, Leto, so these come with the automatons, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to say this. I've seen this god power used once.
Yeah.
And what I did is I simply took my camels, moved them 3 seconds to just loop around them, and dodge the spider traps. They didn't even pop off. I think it's a very useless when it comes to
put this in F.
Yeah, I might put it in F, honestly.
I think you gotta put it in F.
Someone might disagree with us, but especially when you compare it to its basically direct comparison with Carnivoria, these things actually do damage. They can't move. I don't think they're incredible, but they're clearly better than the spider layer.
I will say one thing about the spider layer. The automations that you get with them are actually pretty useful.
The automatons, I think those are quite good.
They're quite good. I very much enjoy the gameplay, the fact they can heal one another. They have really good stats for Age 2 heroes. I do like their unit, but the god power itself is just ass.
Yeah, I think keep it down there. Okay, so that's Age 2. Within the rankings, I do think Restoration over Eclipse. I feel like Asgardian Bastion is the best A tier. I don't know what you guys think. I think it's the best out of these 3.
Yeah. I mean, I think Undermine could also be in contention for the best, but I think both of them are fantastic.
The recast ability on this is just insane. Plus, you can get the battering rams out in Age 2. You can get the believe I'm blanking on the Huskarl in Age 2 for your anti-archer.
Yeah, you're right.
You get access to so much in the second age by being able to build this that I'm almost thinking it needs to be an S tier the more I think about it, because this just does give you so much. It's the only reason to pick Freyr today is
Honestly,
to get this.
you're also basically becoming Age 3 while you're in Age Classical too.
Yeah, for all intents and
get access
purposes,
to
you're
these
Age
units.
3. You know, the only thing you can't get is the Jarl, but I don't think the Jarl is a particularly good unit right now. I don't really see anyone playing with it.
And I want to mention one thing just for the scaling after we're done with H2 as we are now. I think Pestilence needs to go to D, and I think Serpents need to go to C. If we're scaling everything once compared to what we've put down, I think we're
I agree with you.
overvaluing
I agree.
H2.
Serpents, I kind of think Serpents are better than Carnivoria, though.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I actually like this, keeping Healing Springs kind of as the only B tier. I think that is really where it fits in the Age 2 God Powers. It's good, it's not great.
What do you think, Jacob? Are you happy with that?
I'm gonna be honest. I think I'd rather have the Serpents than the Healing Springs.
No way, man. That's where I draw the line. You're crazy.
It's just the water piece is tough. It's so good on water.
Yeah, but tell me, how many maps do you actually play and where, like,
it
you're
doesn't
on a
happen
water
often.
map?
I don't know why that is. I think the ranked pool just doesn't have that much water.
And not just that, but like, even if you are on a water map, I see players that just don't even engage with the water, which might be stupid, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of people who don't even engage in the water in the current strat, the way they play.
Agreed. I do think I'm thinking about that first fight, and I compare this to Restoration. Restoration's obviously better. You're getting a full health army, but here you're kind of getting like roughly 6 or 7 infantry units into a fight that last forever, but you can't control them, right? So it is like a pretty significant value to a fight or to a villager raid.
I agree. If you could control them, it'd be a lot better. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can still place them. So theoretically, you see that archer back. You can hit the archer back line pretty effectively. I still think for picking out villagers where it's used the most.
So I'll ask one question before we move on then. Would you rather have Ceasefire or Serpents?
I think I'd rather have Serpents. I just don't think Ceasefire is that good right now. I don't think it's why people go Hermes. I think they go Hermes for the Centaur.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you're right. That is why they do it. But I think Ceasefire has more actual tangible utility than Serpents.
I mean, if we compare a direct usage, Ceasefire, if we Serpent the villager line on gold mine, Ceasefire can save all the villagers, but you still have Serpents on your gold mine after, right? You got to go deal with them still.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Let's leave it at that then.
Yeah, I'm executive decisioning it. I do think it's better than C tier. So Jay, you've got full authority here. Heroic Age God Powers. Where do you want to start?
Let's start. Underworld is the first. I am very biased in this one. I think Underworld is an amazing God Power in team games.
Yeah, this has been so good in team games, man.
Yeah, like, I don't know how many games I've saved Matt's ass or Jacob's ass when I've used this and to be able to transport my whole army and not even have to build a forward base because all my production's back at my actual base, and just to be able to pop in and out of locations with those units. I mean, there's tremendous value, and it lets you be across the whole map without having to build your base out. It lets you focus on the actual conflict rather than the production. I want to put this in A tier. I won't say S because there are some that might be better, but I think this is definitely an A tier God Power.
It's definitely goated for team games.
Yeah.
The travel space is so large.
I think what we should do is let's stick with solo games, and at the very end, let's do a quick team game switch, and we'll move a couple based on how much impact they have in team games, because I think people would be interested in seeing that tier list as well.
Yeah, we could do that.
If we're going just solely off solo games, we're going to have to move it down to B tier. I mean,
I still think it's A tier for solo games personally.
For solo games, I'd say B tier, but I don't want to move it to B tier because I keep it to A tier because the multiplayer value, that it's absolutely hands down the best utility in the game. You have to.
Yeah, I think it might be the best out of this age for multiplayer utility. All right, what do you want to go next?
Next, we'll go with Bronze. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think Bronze is fantastic. I think it's a massive God Power. Let me just check the recast because I don't remember that. Okay,
Yeah,
the
that's a
reuse
good
is
question.
150, so it is quite expensive actually to recast it, and that's something that a lot of Greek god powers actually have.
Yeah, they are.
Honestly, it's very expensive to recast them. But 45 seconds, you get huge buffs towards the defenses of your units. It's I believe 45%.
It makes them
defenses are
like
boosted.
immortal almost. It is crazy how you
Yeah.
have 45% plus whatever they already have in percent reduction. Doesn't
So
affect
I might
heroes
put
critically.
I would put this in S tier. You guys can tell me if it deserves to be an A, but I can't see it being lower than A.
I will say the fear I feel when I see a bunch of hydras coming in that suddenly become bronze and shiny and gold makes me say,
Yeah.
I'm thinking A tier. Like it's a solid. It's got good utility when comboed with that restoration. It really just makes that army coming in indestructible.
Yeah, I think A tier as well. I was going to go S because I do think it's quite good, but the recastability is a good call. But I feel like the Greek god powers in particular, they don't have recastability, but they're all just so good in the heroic age. Like, what do you think about Curse?
Yeah. Before I go to Curse, just
Okay,
a quick
yeah,
comment. That's one thing about the Greeks that I don't like, but I understand why they do it. Our god power recasts are so freaking expensive. When I hear that you have a recast of 50 favor, I get so jealous because I see 100, 200, 300 on all of my god powers, and it's such a high standard. So
Well,
you
the
have to really
difference
be
is,
smart.
though, you can pump out as much favor as you want, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're gonna have to commit a lot of villagers
Mhm.
to that,
They nerfed
which
the
is the
Greek
difference.
favor generation in the last patch, didn't they?
It did. They
Yep.
did. Now, if you stack all of your villagers on the same temples, it doesn't do anything. You have to have multiple temples with
Oh, no.
widespread units.
Multiple temples don't make a difference, but it
Oh.
still increases. It's just the rates are lower. It was at 5 villagers, it's about 4% lower, and at, I believe, 15, it was about 40% lower. So it scales
Oh,
up pretty quickly.
How did I
So-
not know that? Okay, I thought it was they couldn't be on the same temple.
No, the different temples don't make a difference.
Got you.
Yeah, I
Okay.
actually I watched someone else's patch video at some point, and they had mentioned, I can't remember who, but that's what it sounded like, is it doesn't do that.
Okay,
So
good to
all
know.
three
Very
god
good to know.
powers go to F tier.
No, I think bronze is A. I think this is an A tier if we're still on bronze.
Now I'm gonna say something about Curse.
Say it.
This is a D tier.
Oh my!
I hate Curse.
Oh.
You guys disagree with me or whatever you want to say. It's fine. I don't care. I do not value Curse like you guys might. There's two
I'm
reasons
putting
why.
Curse S tier immediately, but go ahead.
S tier. Oh my lord. No. Okay.
You play Greek.
Curse, yes. Yeah. I much would rather have the Underworld Passage in Bronze, and that's how I'm scaling it as a Greek god power. I think those two are better than Curse. I saw 2 ranked games, one of which Matt casted, and I saw Curse being used. In that fight, they transformed about 4 units into pigs, maybe 5 at most, from what I saw during those games. That player ended up winning the fight and was able to make those pigs go back to his base and had 1,500 food to benefit his economy right after that fight.
Yep, and that's why I think
there
it's
is
S
value.
tier, because I think that person made a huge mistake in that fight, and you should only use this when you know you can claim the pigs, because that is an insane amount of food to have under your town center. It's insane.
Yeah, but you can give it away equally if it's not.
You can. I guess it's fair. I mean, it can go wrong, right? Where bronze can't really go wrong.
It's the same.
I can't believe I'm arguing to put Curse low and you want to put it high. It has to be B at the highest.
No, I
It
think
cannot be higher than B.
I think it's S tier. I think that Balance agrees with me because they just nerfed it. Like it was a pretty minor nerf, to be honest. It was 50 resource value less to transform. But they did just nerf it, and they nerfed the other units that are a part of Aphrodite. I think it's minimum A tier, man. This one changes early fights in the heroic age. It gives you a huge food income that the opponent can't stop if you use it correctly. I think it's great.
Greek
I think
player
the funniest
executive
use of this,
decision.
let me tell you something that happens with this to me sometimes. I'm raiding with 5 or 6 raiding cavalry. They all turn to pigs, and they're all dead.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Quite the shift. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be high up there, man. H.
Can't be higher than Bronze. I refuse to let you say that.
I think they're all really good. I think it's tough to compare. I think these are all really good. The Greeks have great heroic age god powers.
Every Greek player out there, just so you know, I will fight for Greek supremacy. But if you agree with my friends here and think that this is better than the other ones, you're on crack. this is a B tier, regardless of what they say, but we'll settle in A.
Well, let's go to the Civ with probably the worst heroic age god powers. But Jake sounds like he's gonna fight against it. What do you think, Jake? Where do you want to start?
Citadel. I think you want to put it in F. I think you do.
Yep.
And I'm gonna fight hard. I'm gonna fight hard and say C tier.
C tier. Okay, give me your pitch.
So first off, in team games, you don't know who they're attacking.
All right.
You get across the map, you can help them out, put a little defense there for that early scrimmage. That instantaneous, like, oh no, you're not shutting down the space. It's got some utility. Not a lot. Definitely the worst god power of the Egyptians, but it's not useless.
Well, I'm going to argue on behalf of the Egyptians here,
really?
sir.
All right, go for it.
I actually like this god power. I think it has good utility. It can add a lot to this base defense against raids. Egyptians already have an economy-friendly build order. This just guarantees it even more. I think this should be C tier, worst case D tier, but this is not an F tier.
Yeah, I think to be full transparency, I wasn't going to put it in F tier because I think something else fits in there, but I was going to put it D tier.
I think for fashion points alone, it should be C tier because have you seen the citadels when it's used on other civs? They look cool. That Norse citadel, it is pretty snazzy.
The tough thing for me is there's only one remaining god power in the heroic age that I would not take over Citadel.
You know what? No, jump to that god power first.
Locust Swarm, F tier.
Yeah,
F tier.
It's trash. Easy. Let's just move on. It's trash. We don't need to even talk about it.
No, let's talk about it. It's so fucking bad that why is it in the game? Why did they put this
They just
in the
buffed
game?
it too, but you guys, they buffed how big it is, but Jake just used it in his game. It's not that big.
I killed like 8 farms and 6 villagers with it.
And you couldn't have had a better usage because it was when the enemy was AFK and their Titan was in their base, so that you happened to be able to see their farms. Like, you're not getting that. That's the best possible use you got in that game.
I mean, I think it was very comical. I think
it was hilarious.
That should be an age 1 god power, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Ancestors, Jake, what do you think?
Ooh, I'm going from F tier to S tier. We'll talk about a jump. Yeah, Ancestors, best god power of the age.
Yep.
I mean, those instant units, it's literally, you can control them. They last a lot longer than I thought they would. I mean, we're looking at almost, it feels like 2 minutes of time, but I think it's
I think it's less than that. We can check really quickly the exact
60,
time. I think it's 60.
Seconds.
But I mean,
that's the recharge. Yeah, 60.
You can pair that with an eclipse, and those things are going to just mess up any army.
Okay, so kind of interesting. It's not 60 seconds. The lifespan of the units is 60 seconds, but they kind of spawn in staggered amounts, right? So total god power duration is longer than that.
Yeah, I will say. I just want to say, as a Greek player, I think the scariest thing is when you got the Eclipse and you got Ancestors, and they drop that shit in your base together. Like, that is like, if you were not prepared for that, you will lose the game.
Yep.
That single-handedly is the best combination of god powers in the game.
It's definitely the best timing attack that's out there right now, right? Like, there's nothing that compares, especially since you have the meteor shower option after. I mean, I've been watching Jake's games. Jake, your build orders are not clean. I think we could all agree on that. And Jake is sniping people at 1200 elo just because he just drops all these god powers on their bases and he wins the games.
And the thing is, using these god powers, it breaks the enemy's spirit. And
yeah. The one I casted, yeah, I was like, oh, this game's not over, actually. Like, he could come back from this, and then immediate surrender. I was like, come on, man. You could have come back from that.
You see the dead rise and murder your entire army, you just get frustrated, and you're like, all right, I'm going it.
Yeah, all right. I like this for the Egyptian god powers. I think that slots in well. It's really the only option, god power-wise, for Heroic Ages Ancestors for the Egyptians.
Before we move on, though, would you move that above the Norse god power? Or
I actually think the Bastion's better.
Okay.
I do think it's better. I mean, put it this way, if you have 2 of these in your base when Ancestors goes off, you're going to handle Ancestors just fine.
Okay, fair enough. Now,
Meteor Shower is another question, but I mean, we kind of saw that in your free-for-all game, right, Jake? They had 2 of these, used Meteor Shower, neither went down, their king was fine. So I do think it is better. I have like such strong opinions on the Norse side of things. Flaming weapons frustrates me because I know how good it is, but I suck at using this at the right times, because what keeps happening to me is I use it and the opponent disengages and I don't have enough of a mass to run under their base. So it's kind of like a free win in a fight, but it doesn't mean that you get to wipe the opponent's army. But it is like, it's a huge boost. It's all your infantry and that's all you have as Norse, so it is really strong. It's really tough for me, but I think it's probably my least favorite out of the Age 3 for the Norse, and I'm going to put it B tier. I mean, it's a huge buff. I mean, if we go look at the numbers on this,
that's why I'm having a hard time putting it at B, because the
50% increased attack. Yeah, maybe I need to put it in A. I just have been so bad at using it that I feel like you can't use it until you have such a mass that you can take on buildings as well and ignore units.
We should test two armies of equal caliber fighting. One gets bronze, one gets flaming weapons, and see which one comes out on top.
I mean, based on this, no, flaming weapons would win. 75% boost here.
Oh, 75%.
Yeah.
I thought it was a 50%.
And it lasts for 50 seconds. Bronze was 45, right?
45.
I think bronze is a little longer.
It might be,
Oh,
but
no, 60,
I do
60 seconds. Yeah.
I do think it's quite good. I think A tier makes sense. I can't put it S tier, I don't think. Any strong disagreements?
I think A is a good place for it.
Yeah,
it's a very good god power, without a doubt.
All right, I'll go for the easy one next. I do think Tempest is probably B tier. This one you guys probably haven't seen a ton of, but it's Freyr's unique tech that he can get through Aegir. But it unleashes a hailstorm, damaging enemies and slowing their attack. It's kind of like a mini lightning storm mixed with frost. So it does do decent damage. It's not doing nearly as much damage as Lightning Storm. Like Ancestors are going to do way more damage to units than this is. The slow does start to build up. I think it's best when you're chasing an army when you're winning the fight, because you can finish chasing them off and wipe their whole army. But it doesn't do a ton of damage itself, so I think it's B tier.
Yeah, I think that's a fair place to put it. I haven't engaged with that one as much. I
Yeah.
think that most people who play Norse do choose Frost or Flaming Weapons.
Yep.
But yeah, I think a B is a good place to put it.
And I think Frost I'm going to put right above it because it's better. And with Frost, they have made this a bit different in Retold. You basically can't hurt these units. They basically are invincible while they're frosted. But with Norse, what it lets me do is either take down buildings while the opponent's frosted or build my own inside of their base. So it is quite powerful. The only reason I'm not going to put it A tier again is just because you do not do any damage to the opponent's army while this is active. They're going to have their full army when it ends.
They can come in clutch. You get their whole army stuck there. You can literally just build walls around them and cage them in.
In your game that you casted, AC had a fantastic use of Frost, just to be able to reposition his dwarves and to be able to get maximum economic with his gatherers.
Yeah, his dwarves on that hill fort, right?
His army.
Yeah, that was a really good use.
Really good cast.
Call Frost just better ceasefire.
Yeah. And then I'll move through these pretty quickly because I know you guys don't play Norse a lot, but I think Walking Woods is the best Age 3 god power that the Norse has. I've had a couple timing attacks with this, hitting Heroic, hitting Walking Woods, especially when you're rushing, like with Asgardian Bastion, if you want to get that TC up on their base, or if you're doing like the Odin rush where you get the town center on their base, that's where I'm getting Walking Woods and just taking out their town center, because it's basically giving you instant siege in Age 3 that you don't have otherwise.
I don't think you should put it above Flaming Weapons, though.
Yeah, it's tough. Dude, I think I'm biased because I just get so tilted when I use this. I think I'm probably biased.
And I understand, maybe it's just like that god power, but when you think about it, 75%.
And it's global, too. It's no longer target an area of units. It does it to everything on the map. It's got to be.
And the other thing, too, is we're probably going to get flamed. It's not S tier.
Yeah, we might be.
We might get flamed.
I think move that up to S tier.
All right, fine.
Woods, in the old version, they were just wild units and they would just attack whatever. But now being able to control them and actually move them, and I think you get a few more.
I'll be honest. Even with that, Jacob, being able to move them and be able to control them, I think Frost is better.
I don't think Frost is better.
No?
No, because unless you get the entirety of the opponent's army, sometimes this doesn't have that big of an impact. In that casted game, AC had a really good use of this. It's pretty hard to have like a really good use of Frost where you get more value than some of these other god powers out of it. And that's also why I have Tempest in B tier, because I think Tempest is really strong in very specific situations, but I just don't think it's not good no matter what, like some of these other god powers.
Okay, I guess we live with that.
All right, let's move to. I want to make sure we keep moving through. We've been going for over an hour, guys.
That's fine. I think you know what, this long form content is important because I think a lot of players sometimes when they play in certain civilizations, they don't really think about what
other
nations
perspectives.
might. Yeah, so it's good to get in depth in this a little bit.
And that's why we need Mike on for the Atlanteans, because I even have to look up the specifics. Like, I know what they do, but like as far as the cost and the specific value that you get out of them. So just running through them really quick. Trader, this is you convert the unit. We've got 15 favor, recast time up 15 each time, so you can use this many times in a game. Chaos recently nerfed. It's now up to 50 for recast and then plus 10 each game. And then Hesperides Tree, big buff recently. You now get 2 Dryads free when you place this, and you get 2 free cast of this. And I actually think for all of these, is that what that usage? Oh, that's the original right there. So that's the cooldown, that's the original. But yeah, this is all for the new. So you get 2 of these for free. Chaos can't recast that often. Trader, very recastable. I'll give my thoughts on these really quick. I think Hesperides Tree is now an A tier god power because of the 2 free Dryads. Those units are actually really tanky. So you basically get a lot of free frontline just from casting these inside of your base. You do have the downside of being able to have these taken over by the enemy and they can use them. But I think those 4 free Dryads are really quite strong in the heroic age. Do you guys want to talk about them, or you want me to give my opinions of the 3 first and we can talk about them?
No, you can give your opinions.
Yeah,
first.
let me do that. Chaos is busted. This thing, I think, is maybe the best heroic age god power. I'm going to be completely honest. The number of games I have watched, so the Red Bull Wololo that went on, watched a lot of games in there where this just literally wins the game immediately because they wipe the opponent's entire army. This thing is so powerful. They did just nerf it for the recast, but it's still like, if you look at actually what we're doing here, is it temporarily causes units to attack allied units nearby. So if you have a bunch of high damage units in your team comp, this immediately kills your entire army. It's really that strong. It's crazy.
This works on myth units too.
Yes,
correct?
It works on everything. And it is
everything.
It is long. Like, what is the actual time? Do they have it on here? It's only like 6 seconds or something like that. Oh, it's 15 seconds.
It is the units.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Had 4 phoenixes. They used curse. They all just turned. Each hit 1. All 4 dead by the end.
Yeah. I'm putting it at top of heroic age. I think it's the best. And I guess I skipped the Bastion, but yeah, I think it's best of the heroic age. And then Trader, I'll just throw it out there. I think it's good. It's not great. I think it's B tier.
C tier.
You think C tier?
I think C tier.
Okay.
Also, make sure you fix Ancestors. That's H2. Or is that H3?
No, it's H2.
No, that is H3. I'm
Eclipse
sorry.
is H2. Yeah. Yeah, I put this accidentally over it. But yeah, I think it's the best heroic age god power for sure. All right.
I'm looking at this and I'm pretty happy with it, but I do think that we're overselling some god powers. Our A tier category is so buffed. Do you think Tree needs to be pushed down to B?
I was going to just say Tree needs to be pushed down, Jay.
The Hesperides Tree?
Yeah, to the top of B tier, just because I do think we're overselling some of these god powers.
Yeah, but the thing is about the trees, man, these units, I hope we can see the stats on here. No, you can't, but they have like 280 health each. And they have like 55 attack damage. They're crazy strong. You get 2 free right away, and then another 2 in like a minute.
I'm gonna throw this out there. They're strong. They cost wood, but the tree can be taken over. As an Egyptian player, you ride in there, you take over the tree. You suddenly now have myth units that you can actually spend wood on. I think you got to factor that in there too.
Yeah, I think that's why I put it below Walking Woods and Curse and all the rest of the heroic age, is because like Walking Woods, you're kind of getting 7 Dryad right away free. Whereas here you're getting 4 Dryad free, and you can build as many as you want with wood, which is the easiest resource to get a surplus of. And I think the wood cost is part of why I think this is A tier, because it is so easy to stack up wood and just have a front line in your army with a lot of health. And these guys have a lot of health.
Jay, should we both overrule Matt?
You can
on this?
overrule me. You want B
I'm
tier?
thinking we overruled Matt.
I'm going top of B then.
Top of B. Top of B for sure.
I'll take it.
I would rather have the tree than frost. I would.
Okay. Then let's move on to Mythic.
I think everything else is pretty good though. I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out so far.
Yeah, let's go Mythic here. So Greeks. What do you think? Where do you want to start?
Lord. See, now I will say as a caveat before we do any of the tier 4, I think like tier 4 are already exceptional powers. Like all of these, obviously, that's the last age. But we might have to revisit this at the end just to make sure we're not overselling or underselling certain things. But
I agree.
That
yeah.
caveat,
I agree.
we'll start. I'm going to start with Plenty first, actually. I know it's a little out of order, but Plenty used to be my favorite god power ever, just because I was an economic nerd. Having that, I'm like, oh, slow trickles of everything, it's great. And then two things happen.
Hang on. Economic nerd, or do we need to go back and visit pre-calc or anything like that? Anyways, continue.
You're right. But no, Plenty, when you think about it, there's two things about it. One, they're easily able to be taken over if you lose or whatever, but that's not the big thing. But they can be transferred to your opponents. I also noticed they can be transferred to your allies. We were playing a team game.
Yes.
And Matt stole my Plenty.
It was my traders. The camels going back and forth kept taking it. Yeah.
They kept taking it, and that's fine. I mean, at least your ally gets the benefit, but that is something to note at least. I think that you go Plenty not because of Plenty, but you go Plenty because you want Colossus. You want that massive frontline tanky unit to be able to be a staple in your army, which makes complete sense. Plenty as a god power on its own, I'm going to put C. And I like it. It's nice, but I'm putting it C because there's other god powers that are 10 times better in my opinion. But it is nice to be able to have that trickle, especially in the late game if you're deprived and you can't trade. It is nice to have, especially if you're playing Hades, and I think Hades does. I'm not sure if Hades actually can go down this line.
I think every Greek gets the Plenty, right? Because only Zeus gets the lightning storm. Isn't that how that works? Yeah, every Greek gets the Plenty. Yeah.
So if you are a Hades player and you're able to put one Plenty, and if by all means, if you can get 200 favor to recast again, with those two plus the actual Hades trickle, it actually is very efficient to supply gold. If you're not able to trade efficiently, so there is value there. But I think C is a good place to put it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Plenty is if you're wanting to scale up your economy, and you're going to be playing late game if that's what you're going for. All the other god powers have more instantaneous, that actual combat fight use. It's going to be pretty low on the list.
Yeah, so something I want to call out here for the relative is just that Plenty's numbers are insane. Vault of Erebus, which is regarded as a really good starting tech, same with Flood of the Nile, is 2 gold a second. Plenty's 15 and you get all 3. I agree with both of you that this is not an S tier. I think there's way more impactful god powers for timing attacks, but I think C is just way too low, especially with the scarcity of gold in the late game. When you hit an early Mythic, like this adds up so quick, 15 gold every 5 seconds with as Vault of Erebus.
I will put a little caveat. If you are relying on Plenty...
hang on, I did math wrong. Let me correct. This generates 2 gold per second. Plenty is 15 gold every 5 seconds. So actually...
So 3.
Yeah, so actually we're slightly better than Vault of Erebus, but we also get all the resources. So go ahead with your point.
But my point was this. If you are relying on Plenty for your economy to be in a good place in Age 4, you are not in a good position to win the game.
Yep.
Plenty should just be the little bit of a top-off for you to be able to continue your economic push to be able to mass units and be able to get the Age of Wonder and things like that down the line. Plenty, I love it as a concept. It's amazing to get every resource at that tick rate, 3 per second. It is very valuable, but I mean, we're about to go into Lightning Storm, for God's sakes. Like, I have to scale it against these other god powers.
I agree with you. I'm looking down at the other god powers, and there's not many that I would actually be willing to forego for Plenty Vault, so I think I'm okay with the C tier. Do you want to do Lightning Storm next?
Lightning Storm next. S tier.
Really?
Whoa.
I like Lightning.
That's crazy.
It's an A tier to S tier. A tier to S tier.
Why do you think this is S tier?
Because it guarantees a fight in your favor, just like a lot of the other god powers we put into the S tier, but it does a little bit different. When you have more units in the mass, there is more damage being done. This is the way you can win like an end game fight, to win the entire push. That is why I'm putting it in S tier. Not because it does massive damage to units and things, but say you're in a fight, this is the final push, or like you're in a massive battle, 50, 60, 70 units each side. The fact that you get increased damage values where there's more units in the pocket where you use this, I think that makes it extremely valuable because you are tipping the scales completely in your favor.
No, I'm willing to put it A tier, but I'm just seeing too many other Mythic Age God powers here that are way better that I don't think I can put this in S tier.
So I'm gonna say move that down to B tier. Let me justify this a little bit. One, you see the person use it. It is possible to get your units out of range. It's half of them are gonna get zapped, but half of them are gonna be able to maybe pull out and be fine.
Or garrison, because this does basically nothing to buildings, right? You can garrison your units.
That's the other thing is it hits buildings too, and if it's doing that, it is a waste of a lightning bolt.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I would think B tier as well.
I'll settle on A. I do think that there is immense value.
Yeah, well, you're overruled. You've got B tier. You can fight for it later.
Oh man, I'm gonna take a second to
Is
reflect.
Does lightning not hit flying units?
It does not. No.
Oh,
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, no flying units, and it does basically no damage to buildings. The opposite end of the spectrum, the one that does basically no damage to units, but wrecks buildings. What do we think about Earthquake? Jay, I'm mostly curious, do you think it's better or worse than Lightning Storm?
I was gonna say better, honestly,
I agree.
because you can take out all fortifications, whatever setting you have. A tier is fine. I would have contended to push this into S, but I mean, there's going to be a few god powers coming up that I would rather have than Earthquake even. But Earthquake is definitely the creme de la creme of the Greek tier 4 god powers in Age 4. It's massive to be able to knock down any defenses, any fortresses, any town centers, anything that production units, whatever it might be, just change the tide of an entire fight or game for that matter. So Earthquake is massive.
Yeah, I agree.
I think S tier for it wipes an area. I mean, if you hit that on the enemy's home base, all of their farms that they had there gone. Town center gone. Your troops move in, wipe the area.
Yeah, I might push this in S tier as well. I think I believe in an A for now until we get through some of these, because I feel like we can only really leave 2 spots for S tier in the Mythic Age, but in some of these others might fit in there.
As the Greek player, I'm saying put it in S until you push me out.
All right, sounds good. So let me go ahead and push you out. I'm going to go ahead and put Fimbulwinter in S tier. Definitely better than Earthquake because you disrupt every town center on the map. Increased value in team games. It's every town center on the map. Insane value, insane vision that you get from casting this. You can see where everything is and the buildings around it. The recast ability is actually quite good. It's very expensive, but as the Norse, you can opt out of myth units and you just get favor for free throughout the game. I don't think there's a better god power. It's definitely above Earthquake for me.
No, it's actually F tier just because it's 350 recast power. I think you're biased.
I mean, so is Earthquake, right? Yeah.
Earthquake is. Yeah. No, Earthquake's 330, okay? We're 20 favor less.
You know what? I will move Earthquake down to B. I know I said farms. It doesn't hit farms. It just hits all the grain storage places, so it disrupts that. But Fimbulwinter, you can use it without vision of the base, which is huge to do. Plus, it gives you vision of town centers that you might not know about that the enemy has. Definitely S tier.
It's also easy, right? There's no trick to this god power. You get Mythic and you just use it right away, right? You just want to get the value immediately.
And also, you should time your Fimbulwinters while you're also fighting because it puts a lot of pings across the map for players if you don't coordinate that well. It could make a player who's not as experienced completely flustered instantly.
Agreed.
Those wolves put out damage.
All right, controversial take here, but I'm putting Nidhogg in C tier. I think this unit's actually quite crap. If you're playing versus the Egyptians, don't even think about it. If you're playing versus the Atlanteans, don't even think about it. If you're playing versus the Norse, you can think about it, and the Greeks maybe, but this unit is so disgustingly weak versus myth units that it just drops like a feather. And honestly, the special attack that it has, where it does the long fire sweep, I have seen that cause Nidhogg to do 0 damage, much more than I've seen it cause him to do a lot of damage. So I just think the unit's kind of crap right now.
I agree with you, but I want to say this. I love Nidhogg as the concept.
Oh, I agree.
The fact that you have a fire-breathing dragon.
I agree with that.
Oh my god.
Yes, it's sick. If we're doing just like how sick it is, this is S tier number 1.
100%.
But yeah, I think it's C tier.
He's just so low right now. I think the change they should honestly add is maybe he could be healed.
Yeah, I feel like he could heal and it would be fair in the current meta. I think that would be fair for Mythic Age God power.
Can I ask you a question? Why not D tier? If it's that low compared to your other powers that we've already seen and what we're going to see, because I know you're going to rank some of these other powers higher.
Well, I'm definitely going to rank some below it though. I don't think it's like useless. You know, it's a pretty big damage boost to a fight. It's just that if the opponent does have ranged heroes, this Nidhogg is not going to stay around for very long.
Okay.
The next one, I think if we're doing a sickness and coolness tier, this one is #1 in the game. This looks so cool. This is the flaming tiger or lion, I don't even know what it is, but runs out and then just explodes over everything. And I also think it's really good. This is S tier, right? It's basically your earthquake and meteor shower, also with an insane amount of damage to units. When the wolf or fox, whatever it is running, it does damage to units it runs through, so you get that value on the opponent's army, but angle it towards their base, and it just one-shots everything.
It does have passion points. It does have utility.
I don't think it's as good as Fimbulwinter, but to me, if I'm picking between Earthquake or this, it's obviously this. It's going to destroy all of the buildings and units, rather than just the buildings.
I think top of A. I don't think it's S. I think top of A.
I just can't put it in the same tier as Earthquake, right? Because these two, you get one or the other, whereas Inferno, you're hitting both.
Yeah, okay, that's a very good point, actually. I take it back. You're right. That may be an S tier. Okay.
Yeah, I think the other one that's similar is Meteor Shower, where you're hitting both types of units. This one you can control a lot more, but I think Meteor Shower is pretty similar. I don't know what you were thinking about this, Jake. I was also going to put it S, but just right below Inferno.
I was going to argue S for that one. The fact that the meteorites now target units and buildings rather than just being random, it really makes it wipe out an entire enemy base and army if they're standing there.
Yeah, that's, and to me, what distinguishes these two, right? You don't get one or the other. You're doing damage to both. Okay, so we jumped forward there. Jay, are you going to argue against Meteor Shower S tier?
No, I'm not. It's a fantastic god power.
Okay. Ragnarok. Oh, this one's tough. I did just win a game today playing with Ragnarok, just all inning. The only reason that stops me from putting this in S is that it is high risk, high reward. Like, you either end the game or you end the game because you lost, right? When you use this, and usually you win this game, but I have had games where I can't close out. My economy is destroyed. I run out of my Heroes of Ragnarok and I lose. But overall, I think it's A tier.
I disagree. I think it's B tier, and the reason why is Ragnarok has the Hail Mary that, like, hey, I am in an effed position and I'm not winning this game. Is most of the times I've seen it being cast, not aggressively finish it off. And I think that most times than not, if you're in that position where you're sacrificing your entire economy for the final defense or the final push, you're in a bad situation because you were risking everything. I look at some of the other god powers we've listed in this category. Like, I'd rather have Earthquake than Ragnarok.
Yeah, I think I can get behind this, honestly. It's such a risky god power, right? There's no downside to these other god powers outside of opportunity cost, whereas there really is with Ragnarok. So I kind of agree with you, B-tier.
I mean, just the fact that, a good, 80 population is going to be tied up in economy for the enemy unit, that you now suddenly have an edge on the army is nice, but I agree. It's just too risky to put any higher than B.
Yeah. What do you think of Tornado, Jake? Have you played a lot of that?
It's not very good. I'm going to put that below Lightning Storm. Like, it's easier to run away from than Lightning. It picks up some units. It doesn't really do much to anything else. It's pretty weak, if I'm being honest.
It should be lower than B, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's C tier because, unlike Inferno, there isn't this big explosion at the end, and it also travels more slowly. And I don't think it consistently one-hits buildings, right? Depending on the path that it goes through. I think the path is more consistent now, but unless it sticks on a building for a bit, it's not going to consistently destroy them like Earthquake is.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd rather have the Nidhogg than the Tornado now that I think about it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, and with the Egyptians, they have such good Mythic Age god powers, like, I don't really see, unless you're Avenger massing, why you would go Tornado. But the next one here, Son of Osiris, I know you've played a bit of. How do you think this is in Retold now?
Yeah, if this is the old game, S tier, but in Retold, not very strong. I mean, enemy units can just target him like the Nidhogg. If you just get 10 archers, you kill him. It's a waste of a god power. I feel like I gotta put I really hate to say it, but I got to put him in D tier for the late.
That hurts me, man, to see that because I love this unit.
It really does hurt to see, but it's just like he's not going to kill more units than Tornado. Like maybe you get him behind some walls, but then you still have to micro him and make sure that they don't just stack archers to hit him.
We pause for just a second, and I want you to think back to when we were in elementary school.
Oh my god!
When you first summoned the son of Osiris in the Egyptian campaign, and you had that massive lightning bolt shoot out between all the freaking units in front of you, and you were like, "I'm a god. I'm literally a god."
I'll give you a memory. Me, Jake, and Mike playing Jotunheim, all going Egyptian and getting 3 Son of Osiris out to hold the wall. It's just amazing because he was so strong.
If you're playing against computer players, it's still good. Because they're not going to be smart.
Yeah, it does tear apart the AI. But yeah, human players, it takes one slip up for that Toxitomass to get in range of Son of Osiris, and there he goes. That's it. You know
what they need to do? They need to be able to let the Son of Osiris get healing. That's what they need to do to make it more sustainable.
What I would actually like to see with Son of Osiris, that if we give like a league comparison, here is I would actually like to see a bit of a ramping defense buff based on amount of damage taken, kind of like Jack Show. Because I think that's the problem with Son of Osiris is you make one mistake and he's gone and it's kind of over. And I think making him able to engage in fights, and if he's focused, getting a scaling defense buff based on damage recently done to him, would actually be a way to make him more on average effective in games.
Here's the question. Why not lifesteal?
I just feel like at elite levels it might become too broken with a unit this strong having lifesteal.
Like, it doesn't have to be a crazy buff, like, 30% on Cav, like if you're playing Poseidon. But even if you give it like a 10 or 15% lifesteal buff, it encourages you to use him aggressively, for him to be in every engagement, and lets him be more effective to where at least he gets some healing when you're risking him in fights.
Yeah, I don't agree with lifesteal, but I agree with, I think the sentiment I feel with Son of Osiris is, back when we were in elementary or middle school playing this, it was like this spectacular moment where you have this lightning god out fighting for you. But when you put this unit in the context of a lot of the units in the game with their special attacks and special interactions, he's honestly kind of bland. I feel like there just needs to be more with this, maybe an AoE heal cast he can use, like some other sort of ability that makes him special other than just, like laser gator range damage.
I think your take on it's really good. Just make it. I think your take on it's really good. Just make it so that he can't get popped. Like if 10 units are targeting him, give him more defenses than if 5 units are targeting him.
Yeah, I hope they do something with it, right? Because I haven't seen it in any games I've watched or casted. I didn't see a lot of him in Red Blue Wololo, and when he was played, it wasn't highly impactful. And yeah, I'd honestly just like to see him look cooler. Like the Inferno is so sick. Could we give a little Son of Osiris? I will shout out the icon. The icon looks really great.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
I will say they did reduce how much damage Bolt does to him, but
yeah, that's nice. You can't bolt him. All right.
In fact, you could bolt him and kill him in one go back in the day. Oh my god. Oh my lord.
So Atlanteans, I'll cruise through them really quick. I'm going to put Implode up in A tier. I don't think it's quite as good as these, but very good. Tartarian Gate, to me, is going a D tier. I just haven't seen a strong impact. And then Vortex, I haven't seen anyone take it, so I can't really put a great judgment, but I just don't feel like it's that powerful. Maybe D, maybe C. What do you guys think?
Tartarian Gate, F tier. I played a game.
No.
And I just left that area.
Yeah. I guess I feel it in good conscience. I can't put it in the same tier as Son of Osiris, right? He's not that bad.
When we played the 3v3 and we were hell-bent on this 3-hour game.
That game's which makes me think it was crap.
No, that was the game that made me think it was good. And the reason why is anytime I had an effective push with massive amounts of units pushing into their base, that Tartarian Gate was placed down, and it immediately made me change the way I played, because I had to push back a little bit until things were in order, especially because it works in really good effective combination with other god powers, like Ceasefire, for example. When you put Ceasefire down as a Greek player, and your ally puts down Tartarian Gate, they also have those neutral units still attacking you, giving you a nuisance.
But you can't use this defensively, right? Because these will attack your base after.
Yeah, but you don't put it on your base. You put it on the push.
Yeah,
If you put it in your base, you already lost the game.
But think about this in the context of Mythic Age God powers for a second. Like,
Okay, yeah.
there's none of these that I would give up. I mean, maybe I don't know how strong this is. I don't play enough
Maybe
Atlanteans to really
Vortex?
know. I just don't know how strong that is.
You can use any of the late game god powers as defensively.
Yeah,
You can't meet your own base, can't meter at your own base.
the thing about Vortex too is like if you do go this route, you're casting it 5-6 times a game easily, right? With the low favor cost, it's basically nothing. And that's why I put it a bit higher, because repositioning your army, I can see the value of being able to do that very often in the game. But yeah, outside of that, what's worse than Tartarian Gate for Mythic Age? I don't think I can pick one.
No, you're right. When you put it in that perspective, it is F tier. I will say though, there is some unique things you can do with Tartarian Gate though. I don't want to undersell the fact that you can use it to buy time, and like I said, time is the most valuable resource in Age of Mythology.
Okay.
If I think they just need to make it. Well, I don't know. If you could control the Tartarians, it might be worth it. But just the fact that they're neutral, if the enemy leaves that area, who cares if they're spawning?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so I think now we go line by line, right, and filter them correctly.
Yeah, I think that's a great way. Let's start with
Um,
F and go up to S.
Yeah, and I think on this one we'll just do a pitch by pitch basis. We'll say you'll keep it in this order unless we decide we want to specifically change something. For the F tier, I actually think the order's okay, except for I would put this at the very bottom.
No, Forest Fire needs to be at the very bottom.
Worse than Locust? I mean, they're both crap.
Well,
I don't care that much. They can go there.
The best would be next to the letters, correct?
Oh, right. I went the wrong way. Yep.
Yeah.
so
So I would
Tartarian
put
Gate.
Forest Fire, and Tartarian Gate. Yeah, that's how I would do it.
Yeah, like that. Okay, I'm fine with that.
You can interchange Forest Fire and Locust any way you want, because
Yeah.
they're both absolutely dog shit.
Yep. For D tier, I do think, based on what we have here, I think Vision is the best D tier god power, and I would follow it up with Son of Osiris.
I would put Son of Osiris before Vision. I understand it's nerfed. I get that it's nerfed, but Son of Osiris still is a very valuable unit to have during those late game team fights.
Sure.
If you can keep them protected.
It's just tough because like this is age 1, this is age 4. Obviously, Son of Osiris is better than Vision, but like with the context, I don't know.
Okay, I see what
I'm
you're
okay
saying.
with it too, though, because either way, I do think they're both kind of D tier. And I do think Citadel's the worst out of these. I think Citadel's ass, personally.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with all these.
Okay, C tier. The best of C tier, I think I'm going to go with Ceasefire is the best out of the C tier. And then Plenty Vault for me has got to be up there as well.
I agree with that.
Outside of those,
I think Vortex.
Vortex is probably up
Give
there.
some love to the Atlanteans. Yeah, put it
Well,
up.
I also think Traitor is up there because you do get to cast this several times and steal myth units, so I think it is better than some of these others. Like, I think I'd slot that in there.
Yeah. Do you think Tornado's at the very bottom?
No, I'd put Rain at the bottom. I'd put Carnivoria right above Rain. I'd probably put Nidhogg above Shifting Sand still. I think this is where I would settle for C tier.
I think I'd put Rain above Shifting Sands.
Think so? Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't see
I'd
this
rather-
used, honestly.
I'd rather have Nidhogg than Tornado.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Okay. All right. B tier.
Yeah.
Wow, this is going to be the hardest one, huh?
Oh,
This one's going to be
tough.
really
okay,
hard.
before we start, serpents all the way to the back.
Snakes are good. Snakes are good.
Snakes all the way to the back. I don't want to see them in the front of the bus. No, they're all the way in the back.
So snakes and healing are
Or-
the only two age 2 ones in here. I think I am going to revise snakes above healing springs,
Yes.
Oh my lord.
but I think they're both pretty mid. I mean, what's the best in this list? Maybe Frost is the best B tier.
I honestly think Sentinels is the best.
Yeah,
but
Sentinels is up there too. I agree with it being towards the front. Maybe Sentinels is the best B tier.
I think you could put Lure a little bit towards the middle. Like you could put a few
Yeah.
more before Lure.
And I think I could move Spy down probably to the end of B tier.
Maybe you throw Ragnarok in the middle too, honestly.
Yeah.
What would
It's
you
not a
Ragnarok versus Lightning?
I
do
would
that.
I would rather have Ragnarok personally.
no, I'd rather have Lightning.
Okay, impartial third party.
I think Ragnarok's just a very good ender. Like if you're
Yeah.
hitting that kind of like stalemate point, you pull that out. You go for the push. You end.
There's no
Lightning-
god power in the game. There's no god power in the game like Ragnarok to where if you fuck it up, you lose the game no matter what.
Yeah,
You will lose no matter what if you use Ragnarok, if you can't close the game in the
That's
next few minutes.
it is insanely strong, though. I mean, if you think about the resource value of units you're getting, nothing compares to it. Nothing. It's
That's true.
way higher.
That is true.
And the big thing is really your villagers are 1 population space of resources, and Heroes of Ragnarok are worth 3. So you're jumping to 500 population. Like, there's really nothing as strong as it. But I agree with
Okay,
you
know
that
what?
it's got the
No, you're right.
downsides, and that's why I put it in B, because it does have those downsides.
Maybe you should put it up to the near frost, honestly. Now
Yeah.
that you've mentioned it that way, it's a different perspective. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of
What
just
about the tree?
army disproportionate size you get from this, you win every fight, you know?
What about the tree? Do you think the tree should be above healing?
No, I think it's okay here. I don't think it's as good as these. The units are very nice, but I think the buffs to early skirmishes and early econ with these two is better. I do think serpents are better. I mean, the time to value of the units in a fight is much quicker. Yeah, I think it sits here. I still think it's a B tier. I don't think it's towards the top, though.
The only thing I want to change still is I would put the pool of healing above the serpents. I do think that pool has momentum.
This is the point in the middle of B tier that we're so stuck on.
I'm still stuck on it. If I had my way, you would not see serpents here.
What is the most basic god power in the game?
I wish we could stack them on top of each other, but no, we can't. I'm leaving it there. It's not a big difference. Let's do A tier. Best in A tier. I mean, personally, I want to say Curse, but I know that I'm going to get...
No,
I think
no,
Jay's
no,
going to
no,
get pissed. I think it's the best in A tier.
Underworld is better than Curse. Come on, man.
All right. If I have to really think about it, I would say Earthquake should be up there. I think it's the clear best that's not in the S tier for Mythic Age.
Underworld.
I think Underworld should be high up. I think Deconstruction and Great Hunt should be high up. They have such a tremendous impact on early game. Shockwave I'm okay with in the middle with Undermine. Walking Woods I also think in the middle. I think Valor is going down for me. And I also think Implode, it's like good, but I don't think this is amazing. And I'm okay with it being the back of A tier.
I kind of want
Bronze, man. How are we letting Bronze stay this low? Wow.
You think Bronze is better than Underworld?
Not better than Underworld, but I think
I could agree it's better than the trees, actually. I'm down with that.
I think you need Shockwave lower and Valor higher.
Really?
Valor. Wow.
The fact that Valor you can use on a unit that's got 1 HP.
Yeah, it's a lot of healing over the game.
It's a pretty solid for just pumping.
I'd rather have Bronze, though. I'd rather have Bronze than Valor.
Yeah, this one's so tough because the ages are such a healthy mix. But I can agree with Shockwave being lower. I mean, the impact isn't as big as these in the game. I still think Curse is the best, but Jay very much disagrees.
Curse above Undermine, I think.
Yeah.
As much as I love Undermine, Walls really
Okay
are.
with that. I think you guys do overvalue Curse. I really do. I'm not saying it's a bad... No, I am saying it's a bad god power. I am. But I would much rather have other Greek powers than Curse.
Okay. And then S tier. This one's going to be hard. Personally, I think Chaos is the best god power in the game right now.
Not Meteor?
Yeah, relative to its competition for the age, I think it's the best in the game right now.
Gold versus gold. I think Prosperity is still above gold.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm putting Goldmine towards the middle back of S. I think Fimbulwinter's got to be up here. For Mythic Age, it's the best. Inferno's got to be further up. I mean, really, all the Mythic Age ones are super strong. They need to be up here.
I actually am going to make a controversial point that I actually want to talk about. I think Restoration needs to be the highest. It's an Age 2 god power that literally wins you games. You will win games.
I'm good with that. I don't disagree. I think it's incredibly powerful, and you're using Restoration way more games than you're using these other god powers. But I think probably Meteor still over Prosperity. I think Prosperity fits in here nice as the best first stage.
I think Bolt can go down a little bit if you want to push Ancestors Eclipse above it. I'm okay with that personally.
Yeah.
Prosperity's solid just because you're on Egyptian. You need that gold income.
Yeah.
Restoration, it is going to win you that fight. It is deserving that spot.
Yeah, the only one here that kind of seems out of place for me is honestly Eclipse at this point. It's really good, but does it really belong in this tier of god powers?
I think it does only because you have Ancestors Eclipse as a combination. If you want to
Yeah.
put Eclipse at the bottom of S, I don't mind. But like that combination is the biggest combination that players use in the current meta of AOM. It's absolutely unmatched.
Yeah. I could see that. We can keep it up there. I mean, it is very powerful. It just, I don't play enough Egyptian, so I'll trust Jake's judgment on that too, and your judgment.
I would put Eclipse perhaps behind a couple of the other 8 S tiers if you want to. That makes sense to me, but I think it does deserve to be an S tier.
Yeah, I think below Ancestors. Ancestors is definitely the more impactful part of that, right?
Yeah.
There's more fear when you see them popping up than when the sun goes black.
So I think this is good. Let me take a screenshot of this so that we have it. Any other final changes?
I know with Curse when you, or sorry, with Chaos when you see it, like if you're playing ahead and you know, okay, they went Chaos, how easy is it to keep your army like spread out to the point where they can't just use it on the entire thing? You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to do because everything groups together, but
Which one?
Chaos.
I mean, they have to be fairly grouped, but your army's naturally grouped, so unless the opponent is specifically spacing out melee units to avoid chaos. I mean, I could pull some clips. It would actually be kind of fun to go back and look at them, but I just remember too many Red Bull Lolo games that it was such like a close game, and then suddenly chaos was used and the game was immediately over. It just kept happening.
Oh, I've definitely lost games too. I'm just thinking because they did recently nerf it, didn't they?
They did nerf it, but they nerfed the recastability, not the power of it. So they just made it cost more favor, basically, to cast it again. So it's still very powerful. Like, it's just you can't use it multiple times as often.
Can I make the argument that Restoration is above Chaos?
I think I'll
and the reason
disagree.
The reason why is it's an Age 2 god power.
Yeah.
It guarantees you the fight in Age 2.
Yeah, it's Age 2, which
Chaos,
does give it benefit. I agree.
And like, I'm not downplaying anything Chaos does. You're completely right about everything you've said with Chaos. I understand that. I respect it. But the fact that there's an Age 2 god power that you spam in Age 4 to still win the game.
Its recastability is pretty good too.
It's good. It's the only Greek power that's sub 100 for God's sakes.
It is more than Chaos though, importantly. Like you will get more Chaos cast than Restoration.
And there's a reason for that though,
yeah,
too, in my opinion.
I mean, I could be convinced. I could be convinced it was nerfed.
What do you think about that, Jacob?
I kind of like saying Restoration is the best of the best. I mean, it is. You see, it come out. It's very holistic, and it does win you that fight.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, we've won so many 2v2 games with it, and so many times where I thought to myself, I was like, "Ah, shit, we lost this game," and then a Restoration comes out, we're all full health, and it's like, "Oh, okay, this game's over."
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. There is the cream of the crop. Take a new screenshot.
I think the fact that it's Age 2 is ridiculous. I think it should be Age 3. Honestly, if I'm speaking, like, it should be an Age 3 god power.
Okay, so I think we're good here. Let's talk about how we would shift this for team games. So what I will say immediately is I think Fimbulwinter becomes number 1. This has been insane in team games for us. It's got to be number 1.
Agreed.
And I think we should think about the ones that have more impact throughout the game is in team games. I think Underworld becomes S.
Yeah.
Underworld becomes S. And I'll be honest, Prosperity, the mining one, goes down to like B tier.
I do think Prosperity goes down, and I actually think Dwarven Mine goes up. I haven't been doing this, but I thought about it today. I could cast this in your guys' base when you're out of gold. So I think Dwarven Mine actually does go up quite a bit.
And not just that, but in late game, you giving us 3 to 4. I think it's 3,000 gold.
6,000 if we're mythic.
6,000.
Yeah, 6,000.
Yeah, if we're mythic.
And it gathers faster.
Yeah, so that definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
I think flaming weapons work for allies.
Does what?
Flaming weapons work for allies.
That's a good question that I do not know.
Bronze works for both.
Bronze does work for both. Flaming weapons, they might not say inside of here. Increases all of the players. I don't think it does.
I will say this. I think Sentinels goes up to A tier.
Yep, I agree.
Multiplayer games.
Definitely agree with that. Sentinels would be better in team games. I would say Ceasefire probably pops up in team games too.
Yeah, into B tier. Yeah, you can save your allies.
I think flaming weapons and bronze trade places.
Yeah, I agree. Where's bronze?
Bronze goes up to S.
Yeah.
Bronze is an A tier.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Curse goes up.
I think Curse goes up too, man. The
no.
food
It's
income, man.
sitting pretty. It's sitting very pretty in A, what it should be B. It's okay there.
Okay. I don't think there's a ton of other changes. I mean, these are all still incredible. I mean, maybe Meteor and Inferno actually go down because you can only hit one base.
I think Healing Springs and Frost both go up,
Yep.
and I think Meteoroid and Inferno both come down because there's going to be a ton more town centers in play, and you're only really wiping out one of those.
Yeah, I
think
agree with
Locust
that.
Storm. Locust actually goes to S tier.
God, no. Things that get better at the bottom of the map. I mean, Rain probably gets better, but I don't think it gets above C tier. Because we can kind of coordinate with that.
I think Shifting Sands drops a little in team play.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's less uses in a team game. Actually, it's just like it's so bad compared to Underworld in team game.
The map gets better, so there's more travel time. Keep that in mind.
Think about this. They're in the same age. You can Underworld, where you literally move units in and out constantly with your whole team. Or you Shift in Sand, and you just move 15 units at the very best situation.
But that's an S tier relic, right? Or a S tier God Power, and I think it's probably like towards the top.
Underworld probably is above, right behind Restoration.
Yeah, I think it fits in nice there. I think this is still C tier. I mean, the fact the map's bigger does actually help this value, but I think Underworld just dwarfs it so much in team games. But I'm gonna leave it in C. Can
we give Nidhogg a little love?
Yeah, I think team games the rating power is better with Nidhogg. You can get out on the map more. You also
can pick and choose your opponents a little bit better. You know, if you know that you're playing against the Egyptian, you can contact like the Greek guys who don't have as many heroes. Priests.
I think this doesn't move to S, but I do think this gets better because of the fact that the map's bigger and you can basically have more of an impact from a distance with this than you could in a regular game, but I don't think it changes tiers.
I'll say this, as much as I like Lightning Storm, I might even move it into C.
Yeah, I think Lightning Storm in team games is C. I think Trader goes up to B because this is kind of similar to what I'm saying, where like that you bridge the distance through God powers in team games where you can change a fight without being there. So I think it's better in team games.
I think Vortex, or not Vortex, the Atlantean transportation one. Yeah, what's that called?
Yeah, it is Vortex. That's Vortex. I think that goes up to B.
And you know what? Plenty to D.
Yeah, I think Plenty gets worse. I think Vision gets better.
No. Yeah, it does.
I think Vision gets better there. These are all still crap. I mean, Tartarian Gate probably does get better in team games. There were more uses for it in team games, but it's still
I think it should be in D.
Yeah,
it should be in D.
It gets better. I think that's probably about.
I'm very happy.
Bolt probably goes down, right?
Yeah, no, Bolt should go down like B, even if I'm being honest. In a team game.
I think Bolt goes down a lot.
The single player value. Single player value is immense, but like team game, okay, great. You just took out one myth unit versus 2 or 3 myth units in Age 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's worse. I think the rest looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Oh, you know what? Lure should go to C2. No, maybe not C, but bottom of B.
Yeah, I could see that. Where is Lure? I'm looking for it.
Lure's at the third one on the B tier.
Yeah. You think this gets better in team games?
No, it gets worse.
Yeah, I don't think it's that much worse, though.
It's like, okay, you had a slow start, but guess what? You still have 1 or 2 teammates who are still doing their thing. I mean, like, the single-player element's more meaningful.
Also in team games, you're taking hunt from your teammates' hunt sites, right?
Yeah, you are. Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Especially in that one map, Megapop.
Yeah, it's all right there, Megalopolis or whatever it is. Yeah,
Megalopolis. Yeah, that map. It really hurts your ally.
I think this probably gets a bit worse.
I think spiders might go up a little bit.
Yeah,
you can use them where the enemy's actually coming in a little. There's a little more utility if it's hitting one of your teammates.
I think
might push Pestilence into C.
I just don't know that. The more I think about it, the more I don't think it's better because you have more enemies that can still produce units as normal. Yeah. Whereas I think Citadel becomes better because the ability to reinforce from a distance, just like some of these
Citadel
other
should go to C.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think you get the 10 population cap, which is always nice, especially in these longer team games, and then getting this to try and save a forward base or a defensive base, in a pinch, I think actually is pretty good.
Can we put Citadel in B, actually? Now I think about it.
The thing is, the actual amount of what you get isn't that much, you know? Like, it is good, but let's look at the actual, the power of it. And it's a third age god power, right? You get 800 hit points. It's not a ton. A bit more attack, 2 line of sight, 10 population, 10% hack armor. It's really not like a huge defensive buff. Most of the time, if it's going down, it's going down.
I have a feeling that Citadel would offer a good defense if somebody's getting pushed in their base, but you're still doing other things on the map. You could give a Citadel to your ally and still focus on your pressure and your aggression.
I mean, if I'm being honest, what I'd like to see them do with this is completely rework it in half these values for everything, make it much less of an impact, but make the recast ability like 30 and then plus 30 each recast, so you can get 4 or 5 of these out. I think that'd make it a much more healthy place.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a really good change, actually. That is maybe not the hit points, because 800 still seems like it's not enough. Maybe 600,
it's not very much. Yeah, but some sort of, more cast, more citadels on the map, less impact per citadel. I think that'd be better.
I'm very happy with our list right now.
Yeah, this is great. I think I'm going to screenshot it at this point, and we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. This was even longer than Relic somehow. I guess it's more complex with the the fact that we have different ages, whereas Relic, it's kind of like maybe you get it early, maybe you get it late, but it's much more consistent.
Just say you can bolt one line or one monkey, but there's going to be 5 more of them.
Oh, one more change. Bolt to sea.
No, it's still good, dude. It's still good. I'm leaving. I already took the screenshot. It's staying there. I'll move it over here, but the screenshot's final. You missed your chance.
Oh man, I just thought about it. I'm like, wait, Bolt is great in single player. Absolutely S tier and should be. But multiplayer, is it really that good?
It loses a lot of its
Yeah, but we had it in S and we already dropped it to B, Like it still is good. It's not a bad start. I mean, compared to some of the other starting ages. We moved it down a couple other age 1 stuff. It's only above Vision, Rain at this point.
Yeah.
So it is already pretty low there. I guess Lur is in the same tier.
The real travesty of this whole list is why Forest Fire's an F, actually, if I'm being honest.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. All right, I'm going to call the video there. Almost exactly 2 hours. Thank you everyone for watching. I will actually post the link to the tier list when I post this out this time. I am verified now also on YouTube, so I can post links on my YouTube, thank God. But this was great. Jay, thanks for joining in and doing this. This has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys.
I want to say this, too. Thanks for the comments. Like, we've been reading them and watching them, too. Like, it's really fun to engage with you guys. And, like, who knows? Maybe we're going to be able to play some games with you guys here soon and continue it. Everyone should support AOM, though. Such a fantastic game.
Agreed.
It's the original RTS. This is such a cool community, and I love to see people like engage with it. So thank you for all the support.
The fact that they're updating it too with patches is going to be a great game for a while.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everyone.